Welcome to For the Birds with Richard Cole. Great to have you back in the studio,
Oh, it's
Richard.
good to be back, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a break, but Richard is here and has some great insights today. So tell us a little bit about some of the topics that you're going to cover today.
Well, we're always, from when I got started in this business to now, still have trouble identifying birds. It's hard for everybody to identify. There's a lot of birds. But there's a lot of simple things you can look at, parts of the bird you can key in on to help tell the difference. And we're going to talk about some of the common birds that give everybody trouble, including myself when I first got started.
But and I really enjoyed Richard. I mean, he uses a field guide, but he also made the point that sometimes a field guide makes it look a little too easy. So we'll show you some pictures you're more likely to see out in nature. But I love the distinguishing field marks that you talk about, that it should really help you with identifying and telling one bird from another. And then we're going to talk about what you got to do for spring. You can't be lazy this time of year, right?
No, it's a time when you really need to see what's coming, and that's springtime. So you want to be ready for it. And the birds have a lot of changes going on in the springtime.
Yes.
With food, and it's a mating season and all. So and migration. You get a change every, spring and fall. Some birds will be coming in. There's a lot to talk about for spring.
So you're going to tell us all of our chores and things that we need to do to get ready for springtime and make life better for our birds.
It's time to get busy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then also we're going to tell you about the Cornell backyard bird count, right?
Yes, and it's a fun thing to do, and it's great for gathering scientific information, and everybody can participate.
Yeah.
So it's fun, and it gets you out there and do something different and observe your birds.
Yeah, so we'll tell you a little bit about that on today's show. We also want you to go ahead and comment, tell us where you're watching from, and tell us what bird products you might use. And feel free to just post pictures of the birds that you love, the pictures that you've taken. Or if you have any comment about how you identify one bird from another, we'd love to see your comments. But let's go ahead and start with some birds that are easily mixed up together. So let's see. Alex, Alex is showing us a house finch and a purple finch. Let's first talk about identifying house finches.
House finches are mid-sized birds. And we're going to talk about size a little bit in a minute, but it's a mid-sized bird, almost like a sparrow-sized bird. And it's fairly plain. The female looks like most sparrows that you think of, just little brown jobs. And the male has a little coloration in it. Where the problem comes in is that there's a purple finch. And everybody hears the name purple finch, and they're quite common birds. And they have a little color mixed in. Yeah. And people get these two confused all the time.
Let's go into more of how we can tell these apart in a minute. But first, Alex, if you don't mind, let's take this picture of a male. And what is this? This is the house finch, right?
This is the house finch.
So tell us a little bit about maybe some of your distinguishing field marks and how to see them on both these baby birds and on Dad.
Well, the baby birds are they don't have any other color other than the tan and the darker color. It's same as on the male house finch here, has the darker color in the wings and all, but the belly has the color on it. And one of the things to look for in any of these birds is the bill shape. And you can see on the male feeding, it's kind of more of a, not a parrot beak, but a thick cardinal, like the kind of beak you see on a cardinal. And that's indicative of all the finches. They have these conical beaks that sharp, not little skinny things like wrens, but they're big and thick for cracking nuts and things, and pulling things apart. So then the rest of the bird has a little wash of color and then stripes. All of those are good field marks if you remember them. Like it's got the color, which will vary, by the way, from orangey to almost a yellowish orange. All the way to almost looking like a purple finch, which has that darker color to it. And therein comes the confusion between the two birds.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the house finch versus purple finch and see kind of what to look for here as you compare them.
And now one thing to note, when you see these pictures or in a field guide, they're very easy to tell. How could you possibly mistake those two birds? They're totally different. Not really. If you're out in the field, excuse me, they're not so different. This is one of the birds I had trouble when I first started this thing, enjoying birds. I'd see a bird and I'd look in the field, guys, oh, I don't know if that's a house finch or is that a purple finch? And I had that problem. And looking at this, like, how did I make that confusion? Why was I confused? Because when you just start, this all looks the same. And you can't key in on the little minor things that make the difference. In the case of the house finch and purple finch, it's the stripes on the belly. If you look, they're both kind of brown, but if you look at the house finch, it's got strong striping down the front of the breast. Purple finch does not have that.
Oh, very good. See, I hadn't
It's just
even
a
noticed
wash,
that.
very light.
Yeah.
And as soon as you see the stripes with that coloration, it's a house finch.
Yeah.
Although the house finch will be very colorful sometimes, and the purple finch will be a little paler sometimes, and they start looking alike. They'll both have the conical bills, but it's the stripes on the belly of those that distinguish those two birds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now the females, good luck.
That's all you're going to tell us? Good luck?
Good luck. Here you get a great shot of the bill, these strong conical bills like cardinals.
Yeah.
But here, if you look at the female purple finch and the female house finch, well, the bellies kind of look the same. You're not going to tell much difference in that, and especially in a quick view. But if you look at the face of the purple finch, it's got a strong eye stripe above it. All above the top of the eye,
yeah.
it's very light colored, almost like a big wide band across there, and you won't see that on the house finch. So, and the stripes on the purple finch are generally stronger. May not appear that way when you see the bird in the wild, though. But you can certainly tell the difference in the house finch and the purple finch males if you just remember the stripes on the belly. And don't pay as much attention to the coloration, because the house finch can kind of look a lot like a purple finch, depending on the sunlight and the particular bird, and vice versa. But if you see the stripes, you see the purple color, it's a house finch. Otherwise, it's a purple finch.
Oh, very good. And you do still suggest have your field guide with you,
Absolutely, yeah. I keep one with me all the time,
Right.
And there's a lot of good ones out there. I love this one right here, and they will show you what. They'll emphasize the differences in the birds or the strengths of that one bird as opposed to just pictures.
Right.
And it really helps.
All right, let's talk about the house wren and the Carolina wren.
Yeah. Two other birds that are very
Yeah.
common and hard to tell apart, especially when you first get started doing this. There they are, both wrens. And the bill shape tells you that it's one of those types of birds, that long, slender bill. And these two, the coloration on the Carolina is much stronger. Notice the tail sticking straight up. That's a wren characteristic. All the wrens will do that. So you see one hopping around, it's going to look like the one on the right. The one on the left doesn't have its tail up. So if you look at the Carolina, we mentioned the eye stripe on the other birds. Same thing right here. As soon as you see that strong eye stripe, oh, there we go. You know it's Carolina.
Now, on the females, will that eye stripe be as bold? Will we see that?
They're the same looking birds.
Oh, exactly the same.
It's one of those birds.
That makes it easy.
Like a blue jay. You ever see a female blue jay? No, you don't know. They all look the same.
Oh, okay.
So robins are kind of like that, but robins, the female's a little lighter.
Yeah.
Not as strongly colored, but still they look very much alike.
Yeah.
But in the wrens, and but look at that eye stripe. And this bird right here will be bigger than, say, a house wren.
Yeah.
Considerably, but until you see them side by side, you don't know that. You just see the little bird with the tail popped up and hopping around like a wren.
Yeah. And they do, just like you mentioned, have those slender beaks. They don't have those big, like, pop open a seed beaks.
Exactly.
What should we feed them? Since they have the little beaks.
You know, it's a funny thing. You put out regular bird seed, it's hard for these guys because they don't have bills made to crack things open like the conical bill of the other birds. But sunflower meats.
Oh, yeah.
And
that'd be
suet.
great. Yeah.
Both of those items, they come to it all the time. So back in the day, as I say, you would never see these birds coming to, or bluebirds, coming to a bird feeder. Why? Because there was nothing in there they could eat.
Yeah.
But once we started introducing a lot of sunflower meats into the blends, and pure sunflower meats is a good food, all of a sudden you start seeing bluebirds, which are common visitors to our feeders now because they know they can eat the sunflower meats without the shells on them.
Yeah.
And suet products, which is the fat stuff that you put out, and they're there all the time feeding now. So we get to see those birds we didn't used to in the past.
That's so fascinating.
So the wrens will come to your feeders
Yeah.
if you have that type of food out for them.
Okay, so what's next, Richard? What's the next one? We got a towhee versus an oriole.
There's another bird that I had a lot of trouble with when I first
Yeah.
got started. I was starting to look at birds everywhere, and I was at an office where I used to work, and I was looking outside on the ground, and by golly, there was an oriole hopping around out there. And I got all excited. I didn't know. I put on my bird book and hoped the boss wasn't looking, and I started flipping this. Yep, that's an oriole. It's got to be. Look at it. It's got the orange and the dark head, and it's hopping around. Okay. Well, no, it wasn't an oriole. And although those birds look a lot alike,
Yeah.
especially to a novice,
They do.
the key should have been that it's hopping around on the ground.
Oh, okay.
So behavior becomes part of this, trying to tell the difference between the birds. An oriole typically does not hop around on the ground pecking and scratching
Yeah.
like a sparrow,
Yeah.
because it's not a sparrow, it's an oriole. So it's going to be up in the treetops looking for insects and things and berries and things that are in the
Right.
treetop, and not foraging on the ground like a chicken.
And let's take
The
another look at the
towhee-
towhee that I've got pulled up. Yeah.
The towhee will scratch around on the ground.
Yeah.
It hops, and if you ever watch them closely, it'll jump forward, and sparrows in general, a lot of them do this.
Yeah.
They'll jump forward, scratch with both feet, and jump back and look where they scratched. It's a little hop move forward, scratch, hop
I
back.
never knew
and
to
look
look
down.
for that.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of like a chicken, but chickens tend to use one
Yeah.
leg. These guys use both legs.
Okay.
So you see that on the ground, that's not an oriole, that's a towhee.
Okay.
Mostly feed on the
Yeah.
ground. They'll come up to feeders and all, but they're not
Yeah.
insect feeders in the trees.
They're both really beautiful birds.
They are.
Oh my gosh,
They're
they're
very
such
handsome birds.
beautiful
Yeah.
birds. But okay, so on the oriole,
Yeah.
are there? It looks like in this one it has a little more orange. Is that true? They're gonna, or is that just happen to be that picture?
No, that's an oriole typically would appear to be more orange than a
Yeah.
towhee. The towhee's colors a lot of times are subdued, but not necessarily. I mean, that's a good picture. But if you see the coloration gets up into the wing bars,
Yeah.
the stripes on the wings, in the oriole were not so on
Yeah.
the towhee. So
Gosh, they're both just so pretty. So watch
there.
what they
and
do.
Look at the white in the breast on the
Yeah.
towhee. That's not on the oriole. The oriole's
Yeah.
got the solid color. It is not.
But you know what? Like, getting back to your things, like the eye color is different here, just in this picture. But maybe that's just the picture. But their beaks are almost exactly alike, aren't they?
They're very similar, yeah.
Yeah.
And the eye color can vary. There's no real eye ring
Yeah.
on the orchard oriole, but if you can see there's no real eye ring on the towhee. However, the eye color is different. But
Right.
that's not in all towhees.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then the patterns on their feathers are almost the
Yeah.
same.
This is a western species of towhee. The towhees that are found in the east won't have as many stripes on the wing, looking a lot more like the oriole.
Okay.
So it's just that
Wow.
you have to find what can I look at to tell the difference in them.
Yeah.
First of all, is the spots on the wings without the coloration in there, and what they're doing, their behavior,
Yeah. You
scratching
just
around
have
on the
to
ground
really
like
look.
a sparrow or
Yeah.
up in a tree.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. You're such a wealth of knowledge. All right, who is next? A couple of blue birds, right?
Yes, bluebirds. Bluebirds.
But not
That's a
eastern
lot of
bluebirds.
bluebirds out there. Somebody said, oh, I saw a bluebird. Yeah, well, which one?
Yeah.
Lots of bluebirds.
Aren't they beautiful, both of these?
I was taken by the picture on the right, by the way, the blue grosbeak. It looks a lot like a parrot, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Yeah.
But this bird's a lot smaller than a parrot. But if you
Yeah.
look at the overall shape and just magnify that about 6 or 8 times, you would have a blue parrot.
Yeah.
Not
So
much
if
different.
if you saw these two out in nature, you'd realize, is the grosbeak bigger, or does it
Yes.
happen to be the okay?
It happens to be bigger. And that's not a bad comparison right there. It may not, in real life, appear to be that much larger
Yeah.
than the other, but there is a size difference. And there's a size difference in the bill. The one on the right, blue grosbeak.
Yeah,
It
it's
does have
grossly large, right?
grossly large, as opposed to a smaller beak. And I would say behavior is going to be about the same.
Yeah.
It's just that one is different size than the other, and one's all blue, one on the left, the indigo bunting, and the blue grosbeak has more black in the wings.
Oh, okay.
And get used. Size is a good identification. I like cardinals because everybody knows a cardinal. Know
Yeah.
about what size a cardinal is, and you say, well, this was bigger than a cardinal or smaller than a cardinal or about the
Yeah.
same size, and pick two birds that are about like that, a cardinal and maybe even a purple finch or whatever you have, a goldfinch or something. What do you have? You can see regularly. Say,
Yeah.
okay, is this new bird I'm seeing? Is it closer to the goldfinch size or is it closer to the cardinal size? Or is it bigger than a cardinal? That'll give you, then when you go to your field guide, you'll have a really good idea which one it was.
Okay, so let's take another look at the indigo bunting that I have pulled up on my computer here. So, you know what? Their
Yeah.
feathers look a little different to me than the grosbeaks. Are they any different? Like, I don't know, they have like this little furry look in these two pictures, but maybe they're not any different.
They're really not different. The
Yeah.
same types
Okay.
of feathers.
Maybe
but
it's the way that the
coloration
light
and all of
catches
it, and the
them.
way. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another thing about these birds. When you're looking at them in the field as opposed to in a field guide.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! It depends on whether you've got overcast or
Yeah.
bright sun, or whether you're looking
Yeah.
at. And it's the bird can be slightly wet. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of field conditions that
Yeah.
change the way these birds look slightly.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And tell us, okay, it's right there on a feeder.
Yeah.
Can it eat any of those
Yes.
type seeds
Yes,
in
it
there?
can eat. It can eat most of the seeds. It can.
Yeah.
It can. If you see the bill shape on that, it's slightly conical and not a little skinny little pinpoint bill.
Right.
So it can break shells open.
Yeah.
It can peck and it can break things open. So it can eat most everything in there. Of course, they
Yeah.
all love sun meats no matter what.
Yeah. Well,
And
some
so-
beautiful birds. We hope you learned something, and keep these in mind, right? The field
Yeah.
marks, the shape of the bill, the size of the birds, the
Yeah,
what is
we
it? Shape
talked about
and
the
color
size
patterns,
a
the
little bit.
eye
Yeah.
ring, and the wing stripes. So think about
Yeah.
those things as you look, and sometimes behavior, just the difference in a bird's behavior, right?
Yeah, but if you look at it, as soon as you look at
Yeah.
a bird and you don't know what it is, if you can remember just, hey, what size, what shape bill was it? And does it have marks on its wings, one stripe across there, two stripes on the wings, what the breast color is,
Yeah.
and in general what the size is, it'd be a long way, help going a long way toward identifying a bird when you open that field guide.
Yeah.
Because it's rough. And you see the little bird and you quickly try to find something in the field guide, you're flipping through there and you stop and just remember those 3 or 4 things about what you
Yeah.
saw, then go look.
Right.
It'll help. Yeah.
So now let's talk about all those things that we really need to start doing and knowing about, like as spring comes. How about the food? They need some food?
Yeah, I have a term, springtime, we're here, spring coming in really quick. And before long, we're going to start having some nice sunny days, and it's going to feel like it's much warmer than it is because we've gone through wintertime.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. And you think, the birds are fine. It's nice warm weather again. Yeah, but the food's not there.
Yeah.
I call it a period of just when they need it the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun's out, the birds are
Absolutely.
singing because it's breeding season coming. They're setting up their territories. And food, though, is very scarce for these guys. In the fall time, it just starts getting colder. I got to feed the birds. And actually, there's an abundance of food in the fall for birds.
There's always a spider.
And you'll see them
Man.
abandon your feeders for a while. It's like,
Yes.
what happened to my birds? Well, they're out eating natural foods that just became ripe in the fall time. But in
Yeah.
the springtime, it's just the opposite. Just when they need it the most is the springtime.
And they're mating, so they need
They're
all
setting
of
up their
that.
territories. That's when you
Yeah.
start hearing more singing from all the birds. They're saying, this is my
Yeah.
area, stay away. I'm protecting my food source. Probably your feeder, if it's got Cole's birdseed in it.
Yeah.
They want to, and you'll see the number of birds maybe drop down a little bit as
Yeah.
we get into March and early April, because the birds are setting up those territories, and the one house finch don't want the other house finches around.
Yeah.
It wants to, so you'll see a lot of squabbling and fighting, and all the birds try to keep the other birds away from its claimed territory. But there's a lot of things you can do. Make sure you have plenty of food out for the birds. Put some on the ground for the ground feeders like the toys who like to be down there. Have some suet out and put several feeders around with coals in it.
So, and that's what I'm going to ask you about. So I'm looking at the Kohl's website. We can pull it up if you want. But tell us some of the foods that might be good for your birds as they really need the calories to mate and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd say take a look at the Kohl's lineup of birdseed. But Kohl's Special Feeder is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It doesn't have millet or anything like that in it for the ground feeders, but some of the stuff will be kicked out for the ground feeders. It's a good all-around food with a lot of sunflower meats in it, sunflower seeds and other items that birds really like. We have found that thing is very attractive to a lot of different birds.
And they like the blends. They like the different things,
They do
right?
like the blends, yeah, because different birds will pick up different things. If you have that type of food, and with the sunflower meats, the cardinals will come in and grab the sunflower shells.
Yeah.
And they can eat those. The wrens will come in and get the sunflower meats because they can eat those.
Huh.
It's like little insects for
Okay.
them. And so then you get this wider variety of birds coming to these feeds.
And do you like suet for them in
Yes.
the spring? Because
Yes.
it's high energy, lots of
Yes,
nutrients.
all the time, all during the winter. In the spring, I feed suet year round.
Yeah.
Because of that. It's something that most birds can eat. The woodpeckers will really love it.
Yeah.
And it's a good high energy treat for these birds. Mm-hmm. And
Kohl's has so many different suets to choose from, including hot ones, so that you don't have to worry about the squirrels coming to get it.
Yeah. Think about that. You can just put this stuff in the little hanging basket out there.
Yeah.
Squirrels will come up, sample a little bit, and like they're out of there.
Yeah.
But the birds, they're fine with it. They like it. It's added nutrient in the food for them.
Yeah.
And there's several flavors. You can get suet that's softer in the wintertime, and because it's got more fat in it. And the other ones like the hot blend is a little stiffer, more like a dough. And but still works fine in the wintertime. So you can mix and match and put the different ones out there. I like to do that. Anyhow.
Do you ever notice which ones your birds like the most? Is there a certain flavor or the ones that they go for most?
They seem to like all of it.
Yeah.
I do feed a lot of the hot blend just because.
Yep.
Out of necessity, because I can put it where I want to, not worry about animals eating it. But the others, the other ones, I mix it up. I'd like to give them a variety. I'll put 2 different cakes
You
in
can
there.
just see all the nuts in that one,
Yes.
in the special feeder. I bet they do
And the main
love
thing is
that.
they get the little nuts and little pieces, and a lot of birds can eat that, but it's the fat content in there.
That they really need, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like eating little grub worms and things, or
Yeah.
juicy and fat. It's good for them.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Same thing. They get the fat
Lots
from
of
suet.
calories from that.
Great supplement to normal seed feeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about, or is there anything else, like, do we need to clean out the nesting boxes
Oh,
and
gee,
that kind of
yeah.
thing? Yeah.
Don't forget that. I stay on a pretty strict schedule. I know, I don't even have it on my calendar. I know exactly when, and now is when. I will go by each one of my houses out. I think I've got 3 or 4 out.
Yeah.
And mine are cleaned out already from the prior season, which is part of my fall ritual. Open the box up, throw the old nesting material out. I hit it with a hose, leave the door open for a few days, close it, and it's cleaned out. I may put a little pine straw or some grass in the bottom just to make it so if they bed down there in the wintertime, which they do sometimes to stay warm, they got something in there. But they'll come in and build a nest, and it's all clean, ready to go. This time of year, just make sure that's already that away. Because if there's an old nest in there, not only does it leave less room for them to put material, which they want to do, put another set of material on there, they might be too close to the hole, a predator can reach in and grab them.
Oh, yeah.
Besides, there might be parasites overwintering in the old stuff. So just get that out, they'll build a nest. They're very quick at it.
Yeah.
Just make sure the nest, the bird box is not going to fall off the tree or off the post. Just check it to make sure it's structurally sound and clean it out, and you're ready to go for that. Maybe hang up another one. I always just good to have 3 or 4 around your yard, at
Yeah.
least 2, so they can choose which one they want.
And it's so much fun to watch.
Yes, and
So,
get to see that whole
better
process
entertainment.
of the pairs coming in and challenging the other ones,
Scouting.
and then starting to feed the young. Oh, it's
Yeah.
great. And then see the young fledge. My goodness, that's a lot of fun.
Can't
Yeah.
ask for anything better.
No.
Yeah, and then I love to watch the bluebirds teaching their babies to fly and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
teaching them to find food and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So finally, let's
Yeah.
talk about the great backyard bird count.
The Great Backyard Bird Count is an interesting thing in Cornell University. Has it, and they want people, I mean people, not scientists, but
Yeah.
everybody, everyday bird feeding people
Yeah.
to go out and count their birds.
And do you?
Yes, every year.
Absolutely. How
Every
did
year.
I know you probably
Yeah,
did
of course, because it's fun, and
Yeah.
you know, it's not, we're not scientists, you know,
Yeah.
and everybody who's just getting started can go out and, because it's simple, you say, pick a time during the day, and for a set period of time, you say, how many birds of which type do I see? And so if you can identify some common birds, say, okay, so you count your birds. And it's done every year. And you send that in, and they'll enter that in this national survey, actually worldwide. And it helps give them an idea of populations of birds that are changing. If they go for 2 or 3, 4 years or a long period of time with so many, say, cardinals, and roughly over the population of people counting, how many per counter do you see? And then all of a sudden, if it drops or raises, they know something's going on.
It's very valuable information.
It's very valuable.
Yeah.
In general, all these people all over the U.S. and the world counting these birds, although we're not scientists, not doing it exactly precisely, but boy, is it great information. So you're doing a benefit. It has a great benefit to the scientific community because it's a very widespread count of the bird population, which tells us what's
And
going on.
there's so many threats to birds now, from
Always.
pesticides
Always,
and
yeah.
herbicides in the yards
Yeah.
to loss of habitat. There are just so many things that are affecting
There
them.
are.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there's natural changes also. Things happen. Bird populations ebb and flow.
Right.
Normally, a great example is I've had red-headed woodpeckers for quite a few years. And in the last 2 to 3 years, I saw less than, now I don't see any. I just don't see
Really?
red-headed woodpeckers. I see the other
Wow.
woodpeckers, but not the red-headed. Is that mean, what does it mean? From my perspective, as one person in my yard, that doesn't mean anything. Just that
Right.
I don't have any, I don't see any. They could be 4 blocks away, just don't come my way.
Yeah.
But if all my neighbors around in the state and are all reporting seeing less, that's telling everybody in the scientifics that something bad's going on.
Yeah, and we need to look into it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the first step, is to have the knowledge.
And that's the
so-
reason to do these little counts.
Yeah.
And report
Absolutely.
the information in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could be a part of letting everybody know what's really going on.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Richard.
Yeah.
It's always fun. It's always great to spend time with you. You're such a birding expert,
Oh.
and it's just wonderful. And we want you to see Richard as, you know, an expert to help all of you. You can tell, just passionately loves the birds and feeding
Oh, yeah.
the birds.
Yeah.
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 So we'll see you next time for the Birds with Richard Cole.
Hello, this is Richard Cole. I want to thank each of you for watching, and I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share it.